the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, a couple quick announcements before we start the meeting. The first one is the meeting is being recorded. The camera's set up over there. And we are going to switch items on the agenda. We're going to switch G to F and F to G, just for, it makes sense to switch them with the discussion. The attendance sign-in is over there. If you're a delegate, please sign in. If you're an alternate, please also sign in. For anybody that wants to speak publicly, there's a sign-in there for it, and you will be limited to 4 minutes for comment. And at that time, do we have anybody? Can you grab that? Do you want to grab the list for the public? Sorry, I'm having to walk the entire. I can grab it before the meeting. Thank you, sir.
Yep, I'll stay standing in case I need to send it back to have a sign.
Okay. All right, first up is Michelle Whitney.
I'm going to pass. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I don't understand how amending new bylaws even occurred. Did anybody even vote on this? I was at the last meeting and
We are discussing the bylaws, and if everybody approves, then we're going to amend them. We
Okay.
sent them out to the delegates. If the bylaws have been sent out to the delegates.
Did you send this out to the public too?
No, it's not. It was sent out to the delegates who will be approving it.
Well, I will pass, but it's very concerning that this all has happened all of a sudden. I don't understand what the urgency was for.
We have been discussing this at meetings.
Not at public meetings.
At all of our TCC meetings, we have been discussing the bylaw update.
Not at the public meetings.
Okay. Elizabeth Lynch.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Lynch, citizen of Mill Hall. We all want to work towards public transparency and to protect our local taxpayers from any unnecessary expenditure. During discussions, we may mention individual names or businesses. Tonight, I will address TCC's November 26th agenda, October 29 minutes, TCC's new solicitor. I'm focused on the topics, and any direct or assumed reference to any individual is not intended to diminish or attack an individual's character or business. Again, the focus is on the issues, outcomes, not individuals. Agenda item E, approval of October 29, 2024 meeting minutes. It was recorded by a third party and publicly posted on YouTube site. I and 2 others reviewed the unaltered recording multiple times, and we independently came to the same conclusions. We heard no mention of the delegates giving TCC Chair Christie the directive or approval, verbal or through voted motion, to contact the new solicitor and have them draft new TCC bylaws. Our second agreed upon conclusion. The TCC group discussion repeated multiple times a similar directive to the chair to get the solicitor to attend the next meeting so TCC can discuss bylaw amendment options before the solicitor was to perform any work on bylaw draft amendments. Our third conclusion. The only thing the delegates gave TCC Chair Christie to go ahead to do, the chair was to email the new TC solicitor, Jason T. Confair, so Chair Christie could provide her personal bullet points. No motion to approve any expenditure to draft amended or completed new bylaws occurred. Summarizing, the October 29th, 2024 TCC meeting minutes titled Next Steps and Timeline, documenting what occurred during the meeting. In October 29th, TCC approved a new solicitor. On October 29th, 2024, TCC approved their new solicitor, Jason T. Confer of Saxon Stump Lawyers and Consultants of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. After Nick Grims and TCC's chair unreservedly recommended Confer. Is the following a conflict for TCC? During the Keystone Collections and TCC tax collection secret contract development involving Nick Grims and others, the documents properties list the names Jason T. Confers and 2 others. Was Saxon and Stump and/or Jason T. Confer involved in any aspect of the contract's conception, development, and/or review process before it was released to all the TCC delegates? Is representation from Saxon and Stump a conflict for TCC? Finally, evaluating this year's TCC leadership and lack of transparency, what you have and are going through, do you approve or support your chair's actions, guidance, and the direction TCC is heading? We look forward to TCC's initiative to keep moving forward in a transparent way and to succeed, no matter what obstacles you unexpectedly keep encountering. You've got this. Thank you.
We have nobody else signed up, so I'm gonna move on to the approval of the October 29th meeting minutes. They were sent out in the email regarding the meeting. Can I get an approval for them?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Quick question, in the minutes there about the committee agreed for the chair to correspond with the solicitor regarding drafting a new weighted vote for the bylaws. I know last month we had I think Nick prepared like a sample. It was in our packets I saw.
The memo.
Right,
Mhm.
so is that part of the bylaws that we're looking at tonight or no?
No,
Okay.
no, it was pieces of the bottom. Like, it was his, what,
I just provided a memo to detail the search that you guys asked me to do for a solicitor, and then an option for a weighted vote.
Right,
yeah, there was.
I just took it
It
as
wasn't,
nothing.
right, it wasn't to change the bylaws, it was an option that was available.
but I guess what I'm asking is, that weighted vote stuff, does that need to be spelled out in the bylaws then, when it's all said and done?
We have,
Is that where it should be, I guess is what I'm asking.
yes, we have a weighted vote in our bylaws now,
Right,
and I think
which one?
that's how it's always
The
operated with.
one prior where,
Correct. And I
okay.
think the solicitor would likely talk about that.
Is
Yes,
are you Jason?
I am.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know who you were.
I'm Jason Confer,
Okay.
or Confer, or however you want to
Okay.
pronounce it.
Alright, so that sample, I took it as a sample. That was something for us just to kind of ponder over and figure out, to start the discussion, I guess. So is that correct then?
yeah,
Okay,
that is not in the bylaw amendments that are drafted for tonight.
okay. I mean, I'm assuming it should be at some point. I mean, that's probably the biggest topic that we're trying to straighten out, right?
I believe that was a conversation we were gonna have by him giving us some ideas with it and also there was also conversation about looking at other areas and how their weighted votes work. I
So-
definitely think it's something, a part of the process we're looking at changing, but it's just necessarily wasn't tonight. It's just,
Alright, so I guess then if it should be in the bylaws, then is there any point in amending the bylaws tonight? Approving the amendments that were made?
We can decide that after Jason.
Because I feel like maybe it should all be done together, like when it's all one package deal.
I agree.
So, okay. That's, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, because I just want to make sure it's not in concrete about whatever he proposed, because we didn't even discuss that as a board yet.
No,
Okay.
it's on as a line item, so that if everyone is ready to approve the bylaws, that we can.
Right. Well, I guess when we get down to that.
And getting back to the minutes, I would like to have that amended because we did not ask to have it drafted. We asked to have it talked about discussed, we gave them some bullet points, so that part of the minutes is not correct.
Okay, cause the way that I took it is that we wanted,
We did not, we
the
did not
bylaws
motion on it,
presented.
it was not a motion. So, anytime you spend money, it should have been a motion, we did not motion on it. We just asked that he could come, and we had some issues with the bylaws, but it wasn't, and to me, if it's drafted, I was expecting red bullet things that we could look at. I had to spend an hour going back and forth on it to see what all was, it was rewritten, basically it was rewritten, it was not what I would consider amended.
Yeah, we're vote on something that we haven't really even discussed.
And when it involves money with asking a solicitor, it should have been a motion. I know we motioned to have you sign it, which I don't even think that's in the minutes. To have you sign the agreement, that is in the minutes.
Well, there's a motion in there to appoint him, and I believe the question was, is that a contract they gave us, and the answer was yes. So by appointing him means we're executing the documents necessary to enter into a contract. That would be my legal belief of what my 2 cent
It's
legal.
an excellent analysis.
And then also, if you look under there, it said it was a recommendation by Greg Wilson, suggested the solicitor should look over the weighted vote. So, that was directly after the motion to appoint him. So I think that was something you should have spoke up at that point, when Greg made that recommendation, not 2 weeks, 3 weeks later.
Do I have a second for the minutes, or?
I'll make that a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Are you gonna change it?
I made a motion to pass the minutes as stated. It was seconded, and to a vote now. I believe the term drafting is nothing more than examples.
Yeah, we could talk about these amendments, but it's a pretty simple and painless process, as I'll explain. There's really nothing that controversial in here.
Christine, with that being said, we took our meeting minutes. Can we get him started so we
Yep,
can pull him up?
Yep, that was my next,
We
bullet
decided to
point.
move the two.
Yep. Yeah, Jason, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Jason Confair. I'm a shareholder with the law firm of Saxon Stump in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I actually grew up in the area though in Williamsport. My wife is from Jersey Shore, so very familiar with the terrain. Thanks for having me here tonight. I'm not sure, I think I'm supposed to be here at least, so I'll bore you with this PowerPoint presentation. I have extensive experience with local tax collection, in particular Act 32. I'm currently solicitor for 10 different tax collection committees throughout the Commonwealth, from large suburban Philadelphia counties to very rural counties, even more rural than this one, so covers the gamut. I've also been special counsel to another 10 or so tax collection committees throughout the Commonwealth. It seems like every time a problem like this comes up, I'm called. So I'm pretty well experienced in terms of how this system works, how the tax collection system works, what the alternatives are, and what people are doing. I'm the primary drafter of the forms used by TCCs throughout the Commonwealth to implement Act 32, and that includes the tax collection agreement form that third-party vendors like Keystone and Berkheimer use to create their contracts. So to answer Ms. Lynch's question, it's kind of what they've done is they take my form that everyone uses throughout the Commonwealth, and then they build into it, but I haven't actually seen yet what Keystone has proposed. So does that answer your question? Ma'am? does that clarify for you? You had questioned what involvement I had with whatever contract exists up to this point. Did I address it?
I'm not in discussion, sir, it's your meeting.
Well, it's actually your meeting, but okay. But in any event, so when Act 32 started, the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials, which is an organization comprised of school business officials, as the name implies, throughout the Commonwealth, put together a task force, and basically we created the entire infrastructure for Act 32, from the bylaw forms to the tax collector RFP form to the tax collection agreement form, and I personally wrote all those forms, and they're still used to this day. So that's, a significant portion of my experience, which is building the infrastructure for this system. In addition to building that infrastructure and representing all the clients I do in this arena, led many different major initiatives in the Act 32 umbrella, worked with the Department of Revenue to create an information sharing system where they can share their tax data with local tax collectors, including some that I represent, like the Lancaster Bureau, the Parks Bureau. We can then utilize that information to go after delinquent taxes, and then vice versa, we can flow information back to the state. Another initiative I created is a criminal prosecution program. Basically, I go into different counties. I'm appointed as a special prosecutor, and we go after employers that, for example, withhold taxes from employee checks and just take the money and abscond. We've been very successful with that program and recovered many millions of dollars, in many different counties. Help travelers write the bond form that tax collectors use. Help Penn Prime and Philadelphia Insurance write their insurance policies for TCC boards. I can go on for another hour if you'd like, but you probably get the gist. Purpose of my presentation this evening, twofold. Pardon me, wrong direction. One, discuss the revisions I prepared to the bylaws. Two, discuss tax collection alternatives. I understand there's been a significant ongoing discussion up here regarding item 2. Topic 1, what do these revisions do? You have a summary, which actually is just cut and pasted from an email that I sent, and then you have the draft. First objective, just clean up the voting and quorum rules. There's really no substantive change there. I just essentially slotted in language that was more consistent with the bylaw form that I created for PASBO, and that's used universally. Second objective, provide options to promote meeting attendance and participation. You'll see 2 changes in that regard. One, language that allows people to participate by remote access, Teams, web conference, phone, what have you. And then other provisions that allow people to proxy vote, so you can submit your votes on issues in advance of the meeting but don't actually have to attend. Again, nothing novel here. These are the types of things that virtually every committee I represent has. And again, the language I utilized to draft those revisions of these bylaws has been utilized throughout the state. Third objective, clarify how the TCC budget will be divided up between the taxing authorities and funded. It was somewhat murky under the existing bylaws. Basically, all I did was take what is required by the statute under Act 32 and utilize that language. Right now, I understand that the school district alone is paying the entire budget, which is not actually what is contemplated by the statute. So we simply just put in what's contemplated by the statute. And then in terms of getting the budget funded, instead of having the TCC have to go out and issue invoices, chase down checks, and do it all by paper, just added language in the bylaws that basically states whoever the tax collector is, will give them the budget shares for each taxing authority. Tax collector will then deduct those shares from tax receipts. Again, nothing new, nothing novel there. That's basically a universal practice. So those, in a nutshell, are the changes I made, the objectives that I wanted to meet in making the changes, and happy to take questions about any of that.
I have a question, if you would.
Sure.
So this committee, I had spoke at the last meeting and it's my interpretation that they have gone rogue. Every committee in some way, shape, or form should be answering to an agency, and that would be the actual school board itself. Now, my question to you is, how,
The TCC doesn't answer to any specific governmental entity under the law, just to clarify.
but the delegate most certainly does, who has the majority vote,
Sure,
correct?
each delegate is, obviously going to be representing the interests of the taxing authority that appointed that delegate.
Okay,
But as a legal matter, this isn't like a situation where there's a trial court, an appellate court that supervises and what have you. There is no government agency that has actual authority per se over the tax collection committee.
right, but the delegate has supervision of the board of directors, correct?
No, there's no single delegate that supervises the whole board. The board is just one whole.
But she's still the majority vote.
But she's not your supervisor here.
She's still 58% shareholder.
But I'm not, right, but are you saying she supervises you?
No.
Oh,
No,
because
I'm
you said
saying-
she supervises the delegates.
I'm saying that is not the school board the ultimate taxing authority?
No, I don't, what are you talking about? There's dozens of taxing
So I
authorities.
believe what she's trying to say is the school board has 58% of the vote. And she feels that because the individual that works for the school district that has that delegate of 58%, that the persons that supervise her, which would be the school board, have the ultimate say over what her vote is.
Yeah, I think to some degree that's fair, perhaps overly simplistic, right? I mean, I would assume that there's certain things, for example, that the school board would naturally, and just so you're aware, our firm represents 70 school districts throughout the Commonwealth. So I'm very familiar with how school boards work, and we're probably the most prominent school educational firm in the Commonwealth. But for example, I don't, let's take two completely different examples. I don't think the school board would necessarily need to give her direction to vote in favor of the meeting minutes, right?
Right.
So there is some gray area, right? I mean,
Sure.
in terms of, there's certain decisions that she, I think, would be inherently vested with without specific direction
Absolutely.
from the board, right?
Yes.
In terms of more significant decisions, like for example, giving away the school district's weighted vote, you know what I mean? Yeah, I would think that, given that that vote belongs to the district, and I think that's the question you're asking they're wanting me to get at, right? That, in my view, I think should come from the board, right? Because she's a delegate, she's a fiduciary of the board, correct?
Correct.
Right? So really wouldn't make sense to me for the board to just simply implicitly vest her with the power to give away their authority.
Sure.
Okay, so in that situation, yeah, I do think the board should provide whatever directive it wants to provide, right? But in terms of the more, what I'll call ministerial things, approving minutes, is the solicitor gonna show up, things like that, I think it can be presumed based on, common sense, one. And two, everything I know about how boards work and board appointees work, that the board expects her to make those decisions in due course without them intervening, and pulling the strings. So hopefully that addresses your question.
That does. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Coleman, as well.
Any other questions about the bylaw revisions?
I'm trying to write and listen at the same
Oh,
time, but at the
okay.
beginning, I think you had mentioned that you had drafted some of these documents or something for these firms or whatever. Is that correct?
Well, I represent many other TCCs, either on a permanent or partial basis. So one way or the other, I have probably 15 different variations of bylaws, right? So any kind of concept that comes up in this space, I can pull from here, I can pull from there, I can pull from there, synthesize it together,
Right.
clean it up so it fits you, and that's what I did.
I thought you said something in the beginning there that you had drafted, I thought like contract type stuff for these firms that we're getting figures from?
Oh, well, I didn't draft anything for them. Berkheimer and Keystone are always on the opposite side of the table with me.
Okay,
I represent TCCs.
okay,
We hire them. Okay, so Berkheimer and Keystone, they sit over there, I sit over here.
so you've
I
never done
represent the
work,
TCCs.
you've never done work for those people then?
Never, no. No, I mean, quite the opposite, actually. I, for example, represent Lancaster Borough Dirks Bureau. They're
Okay.
actually competitors of Berkheimer and Keystone.
Okay,
Because they try to go out and get other counties to collect for, and other tax collection business in other counties as
Okay.
well. So,
I must have misunderstood you there at the beginning. I thought
Yeah.
you said you had
Yeah,
drafted stuff
you
in the
did,
past for
yeah.
those firms.
no, so what go back because it's a little confusing. I worked for the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials back when this all started. And one of the things we put together is called a tax collection agreement form, okay? And that form is a very comprehensive form. It's 60-some pages, right?
Okay.
Something like that. And there's all kinds of options and alternatives, and depending on what people want to do, and notes to explain, you want to use this if you want to do that, you want to do that if you want to do this. That form essentially became the standard that every TCC in Pennsylvania, when they go out and hire a Berkheimer or Keystone, demand that they use.
Okay,
So Berkheimer and Keystone, when they come in and issue a proposal, particularly if they have any idea that I'm gonna be involved, they start with that form, because that's going to be the standard, that will be the expectation, and that will be the starting point, period.
okay.
So sorry for the kids.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have a working relationship with any of those people, I guess, in the
Well,
sense that-
working relationship, they know me well.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in the sense that if there's ever an issue or something like that, you're not caught in the middle of some conflict or something, because you
They're a
have to.
third-party vendor to tax collection committees and many dozens of school districts we represent.
Okay.
They're a vendor that's under contract that answers to us.
Right,
We are on the opposite side of the table.
okay.
The provision authorizing a proxy voting. Why do we need proxy voting?
I don't know, I wasn't here last time to talk about it. But I think it encourages, I think anything you can do to encourage more participation is helpful.
We talked about the, virtual meeting. And
Virtual, yeah.
voting through virtual meetings, so that proxy goes with the virtual meetings.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's really just, and again, virtually every county I work with has this, easier to get a quorum, easier to get people to show up if they're perhaps on vacation or the weather's bad. It's just a function of trying to get people to buy into the process and,
Can you point that out to us in the,
Yeah,
It's,
Article 5, Section 2,
Article 3, Section 6.
Article 3, Section 5 and 6, so pages. Yep, 6.
so I'm not an attorney, make this short and sweet for me. Are we allowing proxy vote or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do recall myself saying last month at the meeting that I personally was not in favor of that. I felt it was important that the people who are on this board need to be here to be involved and engaged in voting and stuff, which I know sometimes it creates a problem. I mean, tonight, this meeting's poorly attended again, so.
Yeah, and candidly, that's what we
We-
see.
We still have more than.
This is a long.
Well, I know, but, this is serious stuff we're trying to go over, and there's people that are not here again. So, I know that's not your problem, but I'm just saying,
If I'm supposed to be here.
for me being on this board, I'm just one person, but I don't think we should be allowing people to vote from home sitting on their couch. I think it's important that they're here I think it's different when you're at home on Zoom or whatever versus being here, you know, in front of the public, answering questions or just listening to the conversations. So, I don't know.
Well, if you wanna
That's
take it
my,
out,
that's
make a
my
motion.
thoughts. But that's my opinion. You guys are,
I just said, if you wanna take it out, make a motion, and we'll tell him to take it out for the final read, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if.
The only reason I'm saying make a motion, that way everyone knows it happened.
right,
I agree.
So if you don't want it, make a motion.
yeah, I'd
My
like to make,
opinion is we keep it in because there's just times when, you know, if the weather is bad,
Yeah, but you have to have a form, you gotta fill out the form, you gotta mail it in, you know, all ahead of time.
oh, I don't mean with a proxy, I decided you had virtual where you can vote right from the
Yeah, you can.
screen, you know, I didn't mean a proxy, not necessarily us.
So that's what we're talking about. Do you want proxy voting or not?
They're two different tools, you know, the remote attendance, I mean, I work with certain counties, that's it. They don't even do in-person meetings. Proxy voting, again, just another tool for participation. Candidly, I'm completely agnostic.
so this is common across the board now that people are going this route with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's difficult to get people to show up, right? I mean, nobody's getting paid, these meetings are late at night. The tax subject matter is nuanced, you know? And it's been problematic. I mean, there's lots of counties I work with that just don't meet that often, and when they do, they really struggle to get people to show,
Right.
you know? So, it's just a tool, it's not mandatory, people can use it if they want to, they don't have to. In my experience, it's facilitated a lot more participation, which I think is a good thing. But, you know, and I think candidly, that's just how things have been since COVID, people were just more prone to kind
Yeah.
of look for that, so. But
Kinda, it reminds me of,
that's not my board, right?
being able to do mail-in ballots, you don't have to face the gauntlet at the polling places when you walk through. It kinda reminds me of here, you know.
Make a motion.
You gotta do one or the other.
Yeah,
We're just beating a dead horse.
I'll make a motion that the votes need to take place in person here.
So you're making a motion to remove section 6.
That'd be correct.
Well, I would clarify,
It's not-
section 6 doesn't.
You can't
exist.
remove the section, but it can be changed to,
The amendments have, technically the amendments have been, like, so what I've written here has not been adopted, right? So,
You can remove
So-
the whole thing.
Yeah, what I'm saying about is removing it from your proposal.
oh, yeah, I mean, if you guys want me to.
Cause I look, like I
Strike
said, this is a
part.
draft, so we're just looking at a
Yeah,
draft
that's right.
tonight.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if we say, let's get rid of section 6, when you come back with the final draft for approval, section
I'm allowed
6
to
will
come
be.
back.
Wow.
so,
And if we have,
Those-
if we have a motion on it, then it's that it
It's-
happened.
so the prior bylaws didn't have this section 6 in it then?
No.
Correct, they did not.
Alright, then I'll make a motion that's removed.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Alright, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed, say no.
I don't do it, no.
I agree with Layla,
Well, are we talking about section 6 only, or are we talking about 5
I
and 6?
guess I'm confused, the proxy, like, I'm saying virtual,
No, right here, read. The proxy is just
It's
the
not-
vote. The virtual is section 5.
okay.
So
So
you
the
gotta look at
proxy,
what
what do
you
they
got.
do, call in and vote?
No,
Just
they
be safe.
fill out a form, so I would have to fill out a form saying I'm not coming, and that Tom is going to vote for me when I'm not
I'll
going,
retract
and then I have to send that form in
I got
to
it.
do it, so that's,
I'll
like I said,
retract
it's,
mine to saying
Thank you,
yes.
Brandon.
And the red line, I apologize for that. Here was the problem. The only source document I could get was an Adobe. I had to convert it to Word, okay?
Mhm.
And then move that Word document into a new Word document. And I tried to red line back because the conversion from Adobe to Word, it destroyed it, so.
It's just, that's what I was
And
expecting.
I figured you guys didn't want me to go through with a magic marker and.
if you look at that section 6.
I would think you
specific
leave
proxy
5,
for
you
vote.
leave 5, but do all
That makes sense to
Your-
me, whatever you guys want.
said there.
I think I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
All right.
now if you look at
Right.
section
Cause you
6.
were looking really puzzled too, and I was
Right.
like.
Christie, that email that you
And
sent
when you
out,
said page,
and
I
things
didn't
were
find it.
highlighted as far as the changes that were in the bylaws.
And I do agree.
Is that accurate?
Policies.
Are those the only changes in that email? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I did some cleanup here and there in terms of, run across a sentence that doesn't make sense, or the punctuation is shot.
If you look at our old bylaws and look at the amended, this set
But
of
these are
bylaws
the-
that
these
we
are
sent
the
out,
substantive
so much
changes.
cleaner if you
So-
read them.
Do you know you know the changes you made, correct? I hope so.
Yeah, I could go back and
Hang
look.
on.
I don't work on a lot of stuff,
Hang on,
no
real
offense,
fast, real quick. Linda and Mayla, you guys had said no, did?
Yeah, we both retracted.
Okay, thank you.
So like in the section 4 with bonds, in addition to the bonds for it was tax collector / bureau. You wrote tax officer. Why did you do that?
Because under Act 32, that's the language that's used for that's the statutory correct term for the entity that collects the taxes under the TCC supervision, so that's why I changed it.
Can I make a recommendation? If there's a way for you to somehow get us the changes you made so that we can digest it, we could sit here for 3 hours tonight
I know.
going down over these
It's
bylaws.
hard, yeah.
And I truly think we need to have like a work session
May I
The
on just
changes
this.
made are right on,
Ma'am?
They
Yeah,
were
the
all- that's not
substantive
all.
meaningful
That's not all.
changes
Yeah, this is what I was asking about in the email.
in the summary,
Yes.
But
yeah.
you said that that's not everything you did.
Well,
other than
again,
that, it's
if
punctuation
there's,
or
for example, if there's a
indentation.
run-on sentence.
Okay, I
that's-
don't,
Or if there's
Grammatical.
an
They made
incorrect,
grammatical errors.
incorrect term legally, right? For
Right.
example, tax officer, I made those changes.
okay.
I mean, there's nothing, there's no skullduggery here, I can assure you.
There's a board director here has a question.
I'm a citizen.
Oh,
Citizen, I'm a citizen.
Oh,
Hi.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think I understand what the delegate is trying to say. Take the original bylaws, okay? The original bylaws they have now, anything you've changed or deleted, strike out what you delete and put the new text in red. I think that will very much help with the communication problem and you can get through this
Okay, and you
faster.
wanna pay me to do that?
It's not me, I'm just saying, I think that's what he's trying to
This
communicate.
is the voting board up here.
Yeah.
They're-
We're citizens.
That
Oh,
is up to the TCC to have him go through this again.
Mayla, did you go through and mark all that 30-some things that you found?
I didn't say 30.
Well, whatever it was.
Exaggerating? Well, section 3, notice. J, approval of employee or tax collector bureau bond or theft protection insurance amounts. I just have a question mark because it was changed.
what page, I apologize.
What was it?
As I said, it's very confusing because you start marking it and you're reading back and forth. And like that, I didn't know why you changed. All I have in there is changed.
Where are you
Where
at,
is
Mayla?
there?
J of section, Article 3, notices.
Okay.
Section 1.
Uh-huh.
Maybe not, because section 1 is 4. Page 3.
Okay, so page 3,
He cleaned it up, it might not be page 30.
She's talking about our.
Are you on the current, are you on the
I'm
old
on
bylaws?
the old one.
so what,
You said Article 3, what section?
It's not Article 3, it's Article 1, Section 7, the retention and board authority. There's multiple letters down here, I think she's
Approval of
approved.
employee. Yeah, that was completely changed. Approval, we had approval of employee or tax collection bureau bond or theft protection.
we have no,
insurance amounts.
we have no employees, the
You now
TCC
have
has no
approval of
employees.
tax officer bond.
Yes,
Theft protection.
right, so the reason for the change is the TCC has no employees. So it didn't make, the language made no sense.
What about the secretaries? Aren't they?
They're not employees, they're officers. And they wouldn't be bonded.
We're all volunteers, so none of us
Yeah,
are
and
employees
there's no
of the
employees.
TCC, we're all,
I think we're combining again the school district's function and the TCC. The school district has staff in the tax office as the tax officer.
There are
The TCC itself
Yes.
does not have employees.
Yes.
But aren't we budgeting them?
The TCC is not,
No, no.
the school district budgets the
The
tax.
school district pays the tax officer, employees, the TCC
We
does not.
contract with the school district. So we say, everything you collect, you can have 5%.
Correct.
That's what.
Now, that 5%, they then take that 5% and they pay their employees and they cover their overhead.
So we have no employees,
So-
no budgets, we have a contract.
That's a perfect example of something I struck because it's just flat out wrong.
Speaking of that, I hate to be a bother, but twice I have asked who initiated doing away with the tax office. Both times I was told, we'll get to that later. We never got to it later. Now, we know it was not this committee, it wasn't the school board. Who initiated doing away with the tax office?
I can give a very clear answer if you'd like me to, Christie. And I apologize if we said we'd get to it later, and never did. Some of these meetings have obviously been chaotic. I, as the tax officer, have seen some issues in the tax office that need to be addressed. I went to my supervisors, who happened because of this mess of the school district being a taxing authority, also being a majority of vote on the TCC, happens to be school district employees and TCC delegates, the chair and the vice chair. And I said, here are some things that we need to address over the coming year, and here are some ways that we can address it. One of them is through exploring what it would look like if somebody else collected. The other are, here are some changes that we would need to make in the tax office, which are some TCC functions, some school district functions. So the chair scheduled an August meeting to lay out, there was no vote at the August meeting, there was nothing, it was here is what it would look like. And yes, I did my due diligence before that meeting. I didn't have any contract for anybody to vote on. It was an idea that I fleshed out and I did my due diligence on. That was then brought to the TCC to say, here's a consideration that you can make, because ultimately it's your decision, and that's why we're sitting here at a public meeting deciding that and discussing it.
You said you went to your supervisor.
My supervisors, yes.
Who was your supervisor?
Christie's a supervisor, Joni's a supervisor, the superintendent's a supervisor.
Okay, so you had discussed it with the superintendent?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions about the bylaws revisions?
Well, so the weighted vote is just the same, you just restated it.
Yeah, I just cleaned up the language so it conformed to what's
Nothing's changed on it, 58%.
substantively, no one told me to change the weighted vote. I don't have any understanding or knowledge of the school
Well,
district.
and I believe some of the conversation we had was asking him if he knows different areas where the weighted vote changes. Because I believe the majority of the delegates on this do not want the school district to be the majority.
Correct.
Because they're currently the contractor and they're also the majority. That, I think Michelle would agree is a conflict of interest.
I agree.
So that's where I'm saying is tonight's meeting was, he was gonna make some changes to the bylaw for us to review. And the second thing was, what can we do, or what is out there to make it fair and equitable for everyone, but the not only the contractor, but the school district to have the majority. That if 10 delegates decide to go one way and the school district decides to go another, that they're not winning no matter what. Because honestly, if that doesn't get changed, these meetings aren't worth anything.
Yeah, and I understand that situation, and I've been in it in other counties, and all I can say is thank your friends in Harrisburg.
But we do have, as delegates, we can change it, we can make it equal run vote.
Sure, if the school district agrees for some reason to.
So that was my next question.
Right,
So
That's
if-
what we,
yeah.
that's what most of us in this room want.
So if we want
but
to.
that's not my decision.
Right,
It's
no.
a school board
We know
decision.
it.
No, right, but we're asking, basically what we're saying is what have you seen out, has everywhere that you've been, the way to vote always been the district because they're the majority tax?
No. no, it's split up.
Cause there was somewhere I saw where it was, they had like 48%
Yeah,
instead of
so
50.
for like Huntington County, or where's the other, Mifflin County, right, they have a school district that has basically the majority of everything. But it's broken up, you know, and some counties have done away with the weighted vote altogether. Some counties have structured things such that, they have one school district representative for each district, and then all the municipalities within each district have one representative to cut down the size of the board. Some places have mixed those concepts, right? So there's a ton of latitude, you know what I mean? You can structure it any way you want, provided that the people that hold the weighted vote that were gifted by the
That was
assembly
my next thing.
make
If
that
we wouldn't wanna
change.
change it, our start is to go to the school board members and push that.
Effectively, yeah, I mean, I don't,
Okay. Do you see many one-to-one? Everyone gets one vote, knowing that there's a lot of weighted out there, they might collect more, it might be more interest for them, or do you see some one-to-one just to make it easy, so we don't gotta go through and try to figure out a bunch of weighted?
no, but what and this would not obviously work here, what I've seen is, as I alluded to a moment ago, situations where each school district and a tax collection district has one vote, then all the municipalities within each school district has one vote, so there's an equal number of school district and municipal, but that obviously
Yeah,
doesn't apply.
unfortunately, yeah, because geographically.
It just doesn't work, yeah, you'd have two delegates, right? Have I seen a situation where the weighted vote has been this disparate and it's went to one vote per school district or municipality? Candidly, I'm not.
Due to our situation, because the district is so large, and all municipalities, would that be a reasonable option to take care of the issues of the weighted vote, go one-to-one?
That's a policy decision, right? It's not a legal decision, you know, and I don't advise the school district, so I can't.
Right, no, that's.
You know, whatever, what is reasonable is all in the eye of the beholder, right? I mean, I think that if, for example, you know, you're a municipal delegate that is coming here each and every meeting and you're vested in this and you're dedicated to it, you're probably looking from the perspective that's pretty reasonable, right? If you're sitting on the school board and, you know, you have the majority weighted vote because you have the vast majority of the tax revenue and you see somebody coming from a municipality that maybe has a small fraction of that revenue, you might not view that as reasonable. So it's perspective driven, you know what I mean? All I do in these situations is I talk through the various models that I've seen and kind of how they work, where they work, and how to implement them, but I don't typically, I don't want to encroach on policy.
No, I get it.
Do you-
No, I'm fine, thank you.
I think Michelle had it.
I'm fine, thank you. He answered partly what I was after. Thank you.
Do you have any more?
So I'll be honest with you, unless anyone else doesn't have anything, I think we should just put a quick, what do you want him to have ready for us for next meeting to look for replies? That's why we have him here, to get to know him and.
Yeah, I mean, I'll strike out at section 6 and any other references to proxy voting in there, because for example, there's a section that says proxy voters count towards quorum, so I'll strike that out. I haven't been given any direction or instruction to do anything other than that, so.
That's what I think the next part of what we're gonna talk about here.
Yeah.
Did everyone review the bylaws that he presented? Was there anything else that you wanted to add, take out?
I just focused on the stuff that was in the email there, but in my opinion, I truly think that we need to somehow organize a work session specifically for the bylaws. And I don't know what it's gonna take to get other people here that are on this board, but they need to be here. So whether we set a date and get those people here and have a work session and collectively communicate with each other, ask questions or whatever, clear this stuff up. So there's one message going back
We
then.
can go section for section and.
Yeah,
So-
have in front of us, a copy of the old bylaws and a copy of the new bylaws
Right.
And we go through section by section.
Like Mela did.
So you're making that a motion, because that's, we're gonna put it right out there so everyone knows what the game plan is.
I did it.
You're gonna make a motion to schedule a work session for the purpose of reviewing the bylaws and preparing a working draft to send to the solicitor. Is that what you're doing, Kyle?
I think that work session should entail the bylaws and also this weighted vote thing. We need to sort that out in this work
Greg has some
session.
good ideas with that.
Right. So but, you know, I guess we need to figure out when we're gonna do that.
And do you?
I'm not gonna make a motion to do that until I have a date, you know, until we pick a date. That's kind of
Do you want
pointless.
the solicitor here for that?
Well, speaking of dates, back before all this started, we had at our regular meeting that we had, we set up December the 11th as our next meeting. So,
It's our reorg meeting.
and reorganization meeting also at the,
Yeah, I think that was middle of the afternoon.
I don't know if you wanna keep that date.
It don't matter to me, but I just think that the purpose of having the solicitor at our work session isn't necessary. He gave us what he believes, we have what we have. I think we can come to a reasonableness.
I won't be here anyway.
Yeah, I think we can come to a reasonableness and it can be sent to him, he can review it and
Yeah.
he can let us know if he feels there's anything that we thought of or changed as a progress. I can't see
Yeah,
spending money.
that's fine, yeah, that saves me the, travel.
But do you wanna keep the 11th? Or
It's not
You
gonna
want
work for
another-
a
I-
time.
what, another date?
For most people.
Now, the time was what, 2:30?
You can change
That
the
ain't
time.
gonna work.
Yeah, we can like change the time.
The 11th,
And what are we doing with that? Is a work session, you mean, or just?
so what once we set a date, his thing was a work session. Kyle, you say it, because I don't want people to think I'm putting words in their mouth.
I
I'm
honestly-
trying to help you out here, move this along.
I think that we need to, honestly, it's gonna be after the new year. December is absolutely a terrible time to try and figure, I mean, people have stuff going on. So I don't know how we're gonna try to squeeze this in before
We do have to, Nick, do we,
Do they have to reorg, do we have to reorg in December?
We can like
I
cancel
think
that
we do
meeting.
have to
Yes,
have our
we do have
reorg
to
in
have a
December.
reorganization.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're gonna have to have me, no matter what.
Well, but
Or you
that
can
won't
make
have
the
to
work
be for a
session
work
it
in
can
session.
consist of 5 minutes, come in here and reorganize.
That's
and-
fine, but you can do your work session in January.
Yeah, that's,
We can discuss at the December meeting about the discussion for the work session. If that's, we don't have to set a date.
yeah, I don't
today.
think there's enough people here to set a date. So if we have the December 11th meeting come in and reorganize and,
You have to move the time of that if you want to get people here.
yeah. What is that, like a Wednesday or something?
Yeah,
Tuesday.
second Wednesday. December 11th is the second Wednesday.
I mean, what time do you get done working? Like legitimately on paper?
Like, technically, 4:30, I'm supposed to be done, but I don't get done at 4:30.
So we should
To
try to
bring
like,
people here, we almost need it at 6:30 or, I don't know.
Right.
That's, I mean, I don't care, but.
yeah, I don't,
So is,
We don't have to do the 11th. We can always change.
No, we have to reorg. We have to do a reorganization in December.
in December, but
It could be a 5-minute meeting, nothing else, just.
do you have,
It's already set and
It's-
everyone agreed.
It
on
probably
it.
won't be 5, the reorg, just to be clear, it's not just officers, it's also approving a budget, it's approving an auditor,
setting the
it's,
next meeting?
I mean, it doesn't have to be
Right.
long, but it's probably more than 5 minutes.
So, can I make a suggestion that we let Jason finish his presentation, and then we'll come down and we'll set our next meeting dates? Is that,
That works.
okay,
He's got the
are
drive.
we good with the bylaw discussion, since we've talked about setting up a work session? So down under, next meeting, whoever wants, if we wanna do a work session, we'll make a motion to set up a work session date at our next meeting, which will be held in December. Is that, okay, then we'll take care of all the dates down here. We'll let him finish his presentation. Is that all right?
sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. That was the bylaw discussion.
It's the most robust bylaw discussion I've ever had. Topic 2, tax collection alternatives. Start out with some fresher on key terms and concepts. Candidly, I'm just kind of starting at the bottom here with basic framework because I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with some of the terminology I'm going to use. Act 32, the first term, that's what I referred to earlier a couple times. That's the legislation from Harrisburg, created consolidated earned income tax collection and countywide tax collection districts under the supervision of tax collection committees like you folks. EIT, that's the earned income tax levied by school districts and municipalities. TCC, that's the tax collection committee that oversees EIT collection in the tax collection district, so that's you folks here in Clinton County. And the KCSD tax office, that's the school district tax office down the hallway that collected EIT throughout the Clinton County Tax Collection District under the TCC supervision since the inception of Act 32. Yes, ma'am.
Christy, may I ask a question, please?
One last from the public, and then we're gonna keep it with the.
No, I understand, because time, money, I understand.
Yep. So go ahead.
Something that this group, I've noticed, hasn't talked about is non-resident EIT. So maybe that's something, some of them collect it and some of them don't here. Just want to, I'm done, thank you.
When you refer to them,
Some municipalities collect non-resident EIT, some municipalities don't even know it exists, and some don't.
The tax office collects that,
Right.
not the municipalities.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean the municipalities. I'm just saying, that's a topic that hasn't been discussed, and it's not in their current bylaws, but I'm done.
Okay. Well, that's a
Non-resident.
tax crediting issue.
Yeah, that's,
So, just to briefly go over that, I'm not sure.
No, I'm not asking you to, sir. I'm not asking you to, I'm just
Okay.
saying,
Yeah, all right.
that is something some do, some don't right now.
it's not part of the bylaws though, that's part of a tax ordinance that's passed by municipalities.
Passed by,
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's not really germane to this discussion, but happy to talk with you offline about it if you'd like.
That's fine, thank you.
So that's the basic terminology that I'm gonna refer to here over the next few minutes. So if you hear those terms, this is what I'm talking about. And if I throw one of these terms out here, and you don't know what I'm talking about, just stop me and I'll elaborate. Currently, in the state of Pennsylvania, 3 TCCs have our EIT collected through a centralized school district or municipal office. Effective January 2025, that will be 2, because Williamsport will no longer have that structure. So that'll leave this office and one other. Vast majority of tax collection committees throughout the Commonwealth have their EIT collected by either a third-party vendor, Berkheimer, Keystone, CapTax, something like that, or a county tax bureau. In every county that has a bureau, and I've represented all the big ones, either as solicitor or special counsel, and that'd be Lancaster, Burke, York Adams, Cumberland. All those bureaus predated Act 32. So the idea with Act 32 was, okay, look, we've got a bunch of different counties here that have consolidated countywide tax collection. They do it through these bureaus. Should we mimic this at the state level and require every county to do it? So that's the genesis of it. In virtually every county in Pennsylvania where there was no bureau prior to Act 32, the TCC has engaged a third-party vendor to collect the EIT, with the exception of this county, Williamsport again until January, and one other county.
Did Clinton County submit?
We have
A
not
proposal?
received anything from the county. I asked them again for it, and the chief clerk said she will request it again, and I have received.
Let's keep
it.
rolling. I'm gonna make a comment about that. Let's keep rolling.
So assessing the current situation here, and I've reviewed the data I've given, obviously I don't work here, I didn't come up and do a personal investigation, but this is what I'm seeing. Here's you guys are paying the highest effective commission rate for EIT in the entire Commonwealth, 5%. I understand the tax office has 5 staffed positions. Only 2 employees are scheduled to remain come January, 1 tax processor and 1 supervisor. Those 2 employees will be responsible for collecting, processing, and distributing approximately $28.5 million in EIT, real estate tax, local services, and business privilege tax. obviously, that really leaves no bandwidth for pursuing any type of delinquencies. It's just not realistic. And it's fundamentally impossible to segregate duties and implement other standard controls when you have basically one processor and one supervisor. Assessing the current situation with the tax office. Slide 2. I understand now EIT is distributed monthly by the office. Other taxes are distributed even less frequently. The more infrequent the distributions, the less interest taxing authorities can earn on their funds. Tax distributions and paper refunds, I understand, are now made by check. That's obviously a time-consuming process. It also can lead to mistakes. I understand there's no resources to conduct what's called a System and Organization Controls Audit, or a SOC audit, to verify the office's current operations and systems are up to date with prevailing security protocols. So, in sum, I look at this, and again, I'm contrasting it with my experience throughout the Commonwealth, right? With bureaus, with Keystone, with Berkheimer, with Cap Tax, and rural places, and urban jurisdictions, kind of the gamut here. I look at the current arrangement here. According to my data, it's the most expensive EIT collection arrangement in the entire Commonwealth. I don't see really any revenue growth opportunity because there's really very little bandwidth, if any, to pursue delinquents, and that's typically one of the ways you grow revenue. Because the office doesn't distribute as frequently as other collectors or operations do, you have your money for less amount of time, meaning you get less interest on that money. So that's a hidden cost above and beyond the 5%. And, again, this is no slight on the tax office because, candidly, I know what it costs to build and maintain a highly modern operation, and it's tens of millions of dollars. They very well may be behind on protocols and operation protocols, including security protocols. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. And I've done an audit, but, work with these bureaus, we collect taxes, I'm familiar with the ransomware attacks, familiar with the hacking attacks. I'm the guy who gets the call when that happens. Continuing with the current situation and the assessment of it. The logistics of having 2 employees to collect and process 28.5 or whatever it's going to be this year, $1 million in taxes. I've never seen anything like that, to be completely candid. I just have never heard of anything like that. As I discussed a moment ago, they'll have 1 examiner for all these taxes and 1 supervisor come January. It's a very, in my view, tenuous situation. And just to maintain that situation, the situation where there's a 5% commission, a situation where you're not getting the interest you should, they're gonna have to hire 3 more employees pretty quickly, just to maintain a status quo that, candidly, from my perspective, makes very little financial sense for any of the school district or any of the municipalities you represent. It's also worth considering the liability implications here. As I stated a few minutes ago, I get these calls sometimes. If the tax office experiences a data breach and they're hit by a ransomware attack, where's the money coming from to pay that ransom or to issue the data breach notices or to handle the lawsuits that come out of that? Is that going to come from the tax distributions to you all, from the school district? I don't have any idea what kind of plan or contingency plan, if any, is in place for those types of things. I can tell you they're incredibly unpleasant. Distributions to other tax collection districts, that happens all the time. People come here, they work here, they live in another county, we collect the tax here, we send it to another collector for another county. That's not done on a timely basis, we owe interest on that, right? With 2 people, if we don't get distributions out to other TCCs and other collectors on time, the statute says those collectors are entitled to interest. Well, okay, if that happens, who's paying? Is it coming out of your all's pocket? Is it coming out of the districts only? I don't know what the protocol is for that either. So, from my perspective, and again, don't shoot the messenger, and this is no affront to the school district at all, because, again, it's very difficult to fund and operate a tax collection organization. But you just have a lot of expense, no real prospect of revenue growth.
Excuse me, can I stop you real quick?
Sure.
Last month, we hired you for this position.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, you were hired to first look over our bylaws, and then we were gonna discuss the weighted vote with you,
Okay.
or that situation.
Mhm.
This, I don't recall any of us asking for this presentation.
All right, well, how about this?
We talked about the tax collection process.
Look.
And it was,
But here's
it was
the other
agreed
thing,
on.
Kyle, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Look.
You talk about the bylaws now. He's also telling us the liabilities that this group has.
I understand that, but-
Because the contractor is not upholding what they're required to uphold.
Yeah, but how many hours did you spend on this whole, your findings,
Well,
I guess
it
is what
was
I'm
a key
asking.
part of my practice. No,
I understand,
spent-
but you
I
had to
think I
spend
billed
time
5
on
or
it.
6 hours.
Huh?
5 or 6 hours.
At
You
the
can
end of-
fire me though if you'd like. I was actually not even gonna take this job.
I'm just asking a question.
I'm not here to like trick you or overbill you.
I didn't say that you
or
were, but we're
Scam
trying to
you into
follow
listening to
procedural stuff here as to
presentations, so
getting.
You don't want me here, you can make a motion to dismiss. No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
To be quite honest with you, I've been watching you this whole meeting,
Mhm.
and you're extremely unprofessional,
Okay.
okay? So,
Alright,
no, Christie,
I
I'm speaking
understand.
right now.
Keep them
Well, my
digging.
point is, there was hours spent on this presentation. We didn't hire you to do this yet, okay? So who directed you to dive into all this right now?
We talked about, there was 3 bullet points, the bylaws, the weighted vote, and the tax collection process. That's what we talked about at the last meeting. That's what I was asked
Did you hear this recording?
to.
No one wants to believe me.
So that-
Now you have an attorney
When I
telling you that,
went-
Rita.
when
None
I
of you
emailed-
people want to believe this.
It's not.
Now you have the attorney.
And then look, if you'd
No,
like to
don't
hire
say
somebody
that.
else with my expertise, if you.
All I'm
say
saying
that.
is, I think we need to work through things
Everyone thinks there's a
procedurally.
conspiracy here.
Now.
There's no conspiracy. You can't alter the numbers. It is what it is.
So right
Correct.
now, the tax office in January is gonna be down to 2 employees.
Yeah, but you can hire for more.
If we're
There's
going
more
to-
positions there that can be hired
If
for.
we, as the TCC, are going to even remotely think about appointing another
But it's part of our
elector,
bargaining
the school
unit.
district has to hire 3
You're gonna go to the union
employees
and get
just
rid of the
to
jobs.
let them go.
Christie, I understand that. I'm just saying, I
Okay.
think we need to like
That's
work
where
through
it's
things
going.
step by step. I'm just a little taken back by that we're discussing this tonight about stuff that Nick has beat us to death with.
But that's what my directive was to take to him for the tax collection process, and that's what he's explaining.
He's sitting here telling
And
you
yes,
how it
Nick
happened.
said the same thing. Now we just paid this gentleman
Okay,
$325.
I don't recall
to do
any
the
of us
same
saying
thing.
to do that. And we just spent potentially, I don't know what you charge, sir, but
She just said $370.
It's 325 an hour.
per hour, and you spent 5 or 6 hours on this presentation you just said.
On this presentation, no, I actually just did this morning.
I'm
It's
just
like-
repeating what you
literally,
just said
it's
a few
like-
minutes ago. You said you spent
I
5 or
think
6
half an
hours
hour,
on
no,
this.
total, reviewing everything, right? Yeah, this was about half an hour.
So in 30 minutes, you
Yeah.
dived into the whole issue.
No, you
This-
said the presentation, you're mixing
You
things.
researched information to give a presentation.
Okay, so
Okay,
what do you
so-
wanna know? How much I spent time working on the presentation alone,
No,
or
I'm
the
at-
presentation and researching?
Oh my God.
I'm
you
trying
might
to
have spent
understand
30
the
minutes
question.
on putting your PowerPoint slide together, but
Yeah,
you spent
crazy.
time researching the information for your presentation.
Yeah, I read through the information I was provided. I wasn't gonna show up to the meeting unprepared and completely ignorant of what's going on here.
Okay,
I
I'm
have
just,
three-
What value am I to?
I have 3 bullet points. The first one was to draft a new way to vote for our bylaws. The second was to virtual attendance policy for our bylaws. And the third was review the process that we followed compared to other collection agreements or arrangements. So this is the explanation as to the other tax collection.
Was that the Dunkstown meeting?
No, that was our meeting that we had
That
here
was
on
last
October
month.
29th.
I would motion that we table this for now because we're still working on the bylaws. We've heard
What are you
this.
tabling? He just gave us the info.
It's just a
It's
presentation.
just a presentation.
The rest of it. This is-
I mean, it's nothing more than a presentation. He's telling us what his opinion is based on what we asked.
I'm just confused as to why, I don't recall us asking for a legal presentation of your opinion on this matter here. I feel like we're putting the
Well,
cart ahead of
that's-
the horse here.
I don't know, I mean, I didn't know you
That's the
before tonight. All I can
process.
tell you is the chairperson and the person that runs the tax office, who would naturally be my points of contact, asked me to do this, provided me background information so I could familiarize myself with what is happening now, and familiarize myself with the discussions that have taken place. To
And
show
I
up
told-
to a meeting, I'm not gonna just ignore the information and show up blind and be unprepared.
No, I
That makes
understand
no
that.
sense.
I
So-
understand that, but I think potentially this board just spent $1,500 for you to reiterate what Nick has given, in my opinion, excellent presentations on. I don't know why we just did that, is what I'm getting at.
It wasn't just that. He did the bylaws.
Yeah.
It wasn't
That-
$1,500
that
on a
was-
30-minute
I-
presentation.
I'm just going off what he just said when I asked him how much time he spent on pulling this information together. And he said 5 to 6 hours, which I was referring to your presentation.
Okay, so this PowerPoint, I literally sat down this morning and worked on for the first time.
It doesn't.
I don't-
Regardless, I didn't realize that we were having this man reiterate things that Nick has.
Well, I don't think I'm
already told us.
reiterating those things.
No,
'cause
you
I-
actually you are. It's like verbatim. to
From
be
this
honest with you.
presentation you mean?
The one you just gave about our,
Right.
our standing here, what we got going on. It's
Well,
exactly what Nick has told
Not
us.
exactly.
no, it isn't, because I have this presentation and I reviewed it.
Well, it's
in
pretty-
advance,
it's pretty
and I have it
close.
in hand.
The points that you highlighted, Nick has presented us with those issues.
Okay, well, I do see where he did present you with some of the things that I've talked about, but for example, he didn't explain to you that you're on a board that's paying willingly and trying to fight to pay for the absolute highest tax collection rate in the Commonwealth. How do you feel about that? That wasn't in this presentation.
I couldn't tell you because I'm still here learning about all the rates and everything like that. So Nick has
And Nick's,
presented us with rates and still trying to digest all this
well, I haven't
information.
talked about any of the rates in the proposals.
No, Nick has.
Okay, so that's another distinction between our presentations.
I'm just referring to, you said that we're the highest.
Well, that wasn't in
No, we
Nick's
are.
presentation.
We're 5%.
Okay.
Holy hell.
Well, you're the one who's saying it's the
No,
same
I'm saying
presentation,
your
and I'm trying
presentation,
to
you just told us it
articulate
was
to
the
you
highest in the
difference.
state.
All right.
Yeah.
We're not
that's
gonna
right.
argue of what the presentations were going. So, do you have anything else that you wanted to discuss? We'll keep, moving
If
along.
people wanna listen, I
Do we
wasn't
want-
actually done, but.
does the committee wanna, Jason, to continue his presentation?
I don't see a point if it's stuff that Nick has talked about. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but we honestly, we were told those things.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to a public meeting where I've encountered somebody like you, sir, I gotta be honest.
That's fine.
Hundreds of public meetings.
Yeah, I mean,
Part of the problem is we've been shoved this into our face only since August.
I
And it
understand,
wasn't in April, it wasn't during the December meeting, and all of a sudden, we're asked to just vote on something.
I'm not
You know,
asking
nothing
anybody
about-
to vote on
We
anything.
voted on anything
Starting
tonight.
over.
I have no
Not tonight, but in general.
horse in the race, so.
In August.
no, I'm just saying, my point is, if we're trying to be a little conservative here of what we're doing because of the cost of things, that's why I'm,
Right, but the most imposing, burdensome cost is you pay more for your tax collection than anybody else in the Commonwealth. And you have proposals on the table that'll cut that by more than half. So the $1,000 or whatever you're worried about me getting, you can make that back 200 to 300 times over in 1 year by going to a more efficient system. So I'm not understanding, when you're talking about financial concerns, but the real financial concern that you have a fiduciary obligation to worry about, you don't seem interested in hearing about, and that's fine. Like, I don't need to be here to talk to you about it, and if no one
No,
wants to
trust
hear
me,
about
I'm-
it, that's fine. I don't,
Okay, yeah, I mean, I understand that the rate is high and that we have better options on the table. Like I said, Nick presented those things. So,
I think it's the blended rate,
My concern
the
that
blended rate.
Good luck in your
I
class.
didn't realize until now was that come January first, the tax office is only gonna have 2 people.
But we have other
my
jobs they can
presentation
hire
has been
for.
shut down.
We have advertised for the positions, the position,
Oh,
those
but-
positions closed Monday.
Vince, that's
Right.
not our problem.
Well, it is.
No, it's not. That is Keystone Central's problem. They are the contractor. When they don't have the people and they fail, then we go to them and say, well, why are we paying interest to another county when you didn't collect it in time? And Keystone Central's gonna have to pay for that, because they are the contractor.
You could sue us.
It's not us.
Okay,
So it's on them to hire new people.
It's not us.
No,
I agree.
it's
You
on
are a
them.
contractor.
It's
Keystone
on them
Central's
to
a
hire new
contractor.
people for our office.
It is not our
It
problem.
is on them to hire new people for
Just
our
like
office.
if there's a ransomware and you guys get taken over, it's not coming out of our money because there's nothing in the contract that says that.
All right.
So Keystone's gonna eat it.
Yeah.
That's where the board members need to seriously think about what they're involved in. They can't run the business, they need to get out of it.
So I apologize, I had,
Nick had to leave, he had class tonight, so that's why.
That's my thing.
11 or 12 slides to go through, we got
Oh, jeez.
So do we want?
third of the
these
way
to
through, but I
continue?
guess we're done.
Do we?
Honestly, I appreciate your time.
Do we
I'm not gonna
want him-
punish you and make you stay here longer.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I would ask you to fire me.
No. I think you
Jason,
brought
is
some
your
extremely
presentation
important
something
things
that
across today.
you can send to me and I can send out to the,
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe it's worth having a quick discussion here as to whether I can really add any value moving forward. I mean, to be completely candid. As I told Nick before I took this engagement, I wasn't inclined to do it just because of the travel, my work commitments, things like that. That said, I have a vested interest in making sure this Act 32 system works throughout the Commonwealth. I've been working on this for 13, 14 years, so I'll help, right? It sounds like there's some consternation here from a number of folks about me even being here, let alone paying me to be here. We opened the meeting with comments insinuating that I may have a conflict of interest with vendors that will tell you I'm the biggest pain in their ass that they've ever had. We're continuing here talking about bills. I'm being told the information that I'm given is really not of value, which, look, I mean, if folks think they have more expertise than I do, that's certainly fine. I'm not gonna sit here and lecture you. I don't need to drive hours back and forth to where I live to do this. I'm more than happy to be home with my family. So I would, I'm happy to quit. Let me know. No, I'm serious.
I would like you not to, because we didn't have any other options and we need a representative, we need a solicitor.
I understand that. I mean, and I'm happy.
I'm gonna say no, just because of the fact that I think that we need someone that's not from the area, not involved, and someone that, of course, he's an expert in his field, that, okay, I think maybe Kyle, when we start talking about what we want him to do, gotta be a little more detailed. Instead of 3 bullet points, we gotta say we want to do
Yeah.
this, and this. We're gonna move on, but plain and simple, my opinion is that he's definitely the guy that we need.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying,
Well,
I think it's a waste to sit here at this current moment and.
I wouldn't blame
go
him.
over it. I'm
I
not
would
blaming
blame
him.
us because we didn't get detailed enough
Exactly.
about what we want. So let's stop right
Exactly.
here. We're paying him to sit here. We can get him done and get him out of here.
That's
And
why I
then we can
stopped him.
battle this amongst us.
That's why I stopped him 10 minutes ago. I'm not
So-
trying to be rude about it,
And,
but it's,
in terms of, I think you also need to understand, what do you want from that? I mean, in terms of guidance, is it just to shepherd bylaws through? That's not a problem, right? I've done it. many times, very simple, you know, we draft this, we draft that? Or is it, do you want my input on the current situation, whether I feel it's working, whether I feel it makes sense in light of what's going on all around you, and then my input on where you should go from here? My understanding is that you did want my expertise on, okay, what's going on right now? What am I seeing relative to what's going on all around you, right? And what are my thoughts in terms of proceeding to get you to a situation where you're getting more money, paying less, et cetera? That's really my expertise. It's not doing bylaws, like, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, that's,
I think bylaws are just something we want to do.
yeah, right. I mean, what I do is I go, and the
From my
county is,
standpoint, that's what I wanna see. I wanna see someone that we can send something off to, because I think in the future, there are gonna be some questions that we're gonna need his expertise on when it comes time to push to shove and figure out what we're gonna do.
yeah, and
I think the information that you're given tonight is good information for you to present to us. I just don't think tonight is the night to do that, I guess is what I was getting at. That's why I stopped
And
you.
that's why I said, I think we blame us.
It 100%
because
it's
we
our
weren't
fault.
detailed enough.
And that's. I
There's
was asked-
confusion
I
over what
asked-
was directed to Christie to do, and we need to be, like, just repeating what Brandon's saying, but we need to be making motions and voting on stuff that needs to be spelled out very clear, not loose conversations about what Christie should be communicating with people about.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
If nothing else, I'd say safe trip home.
yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for taking the position, because we were really at.
Well, I mean, again, no, you know, my pleasure. Like I said, I like to go into places and get things kind of turned around, you know, so if I can be of help, let me know. Most importantly, Thanksgiving to you and all your families.
You too.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
safe
you.
trip.
Thank you.
You have your, is that your bag or is that yours? Okay, so solicitor presentation is ended. You're gonna, I have a copy of that, I'll send that out.
Yeah, feel free to share it with whomever
Okay, so
you
I'll
like.
send that out to all of the delegates. The next item is,
Yeah.
we were switching.
I would make a
the-
motion to table that until further, committee or work session work and a final review, a final draft review by the solicitor.
second.
Hang on. We're stopping that for a work session, right? You got the motion.
Brandon made a motion.
What's that?
Are you putting,
You're taking
are you putting it in your minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Because I
Back
Yeah,
up
I
again.
made
I
a
want-
motion to table
Yeah.
number F, which would be the approval of bylaws
For work session.
for work session review by the delegates and a final, that group then will forward a final draft to the solicitor for his review and recommendations. That's what I make a motion.
Say it again, Brandon.
I am making a motion to table the approval of the bylaws for a work session to be created and had by the delegates to review the old and new, and then create a final draft to send to the solicitor for review and approval.
Say it again, Brandon.
What's that?
Say it again.
Are you serious? I can't take a phone and record. Michelle, play that back for me.
All right.
That's the last part.
I'll second it.
Create a.
Create a draft,
Create that draft.
yeah, and forward to the solicitor for review and approval.
All right, I have a motion by Brandon. Kyle seconded it. Do I have everyone in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed, say no. All right. So with that being said, our next thing is other business. It's-
So, are we gonna remove the reorganization to 6:30?
We can, yes,
That's other business, right?
yep.
We're leaving it for 12/11 at 6:30.
Yes, we
I'll
will
make a motion at the work session, or I'm sorry, the reorganizational meeting is December 11th at 6:30.
I'll second Cal's motion
We should add on to that what it's
for the purpose of reorganization.
Only, right? Is that
yes.
December 11th, 6:30? Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Brandon, second. All in favor, signify by
Reorganization only.
saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? Okay. Alright, so that's that. Other business, I did mention, and it was mentioned in his presentation, that the tax office is gonna be down to 2 employees. I commented, while we were here, but I don't know if everybody heard. But the TCC is, if we decide to appoint a new collector in June, the school district has to hire employees. There's no way that office can function with 2 employees. The jobs are open, or the positions were advertised, we have applicants, and it was closed on Monday. So I kind of want a feel from the board is, I'm going to go ahead and interview for people for the tax office. 'Cause
So
it
now
sounds like
restate
we're
my
not.
earlier comment, Keystone Central Tax Office
Mhm.
is a contractor that was employed by the TCC,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
That is not our responsibility.
That's right.
okay.
Keystone Central is required to uphold the Title 32 requirements.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting this on record. They're
Yep.
required to uphold the Title 32 requirements because they are the approved contractor.
Yep.
If they fail, that's on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it.
Who are the 2 employees that it'll be down to?
Noel Green got the supervisor position,
We didn't,
and it's on the board for approval. And, Steph Minzer will remain in the tax office as well.
Okay.
There is a position that was already vacant from an employee leaving there, and then the other, Karen has taken another position somewhere else.
Okay. So again, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just curious, are they leaving because of anticipation that we might close and they're taking another position? Or the school district's not?
That has not been expressed to me. I don't know the answer to that.
I know you think about it, but it's not our problem.
Well, I know it, that's why I understand that, but I'm just
It's no different.
curious how things are shaking out here.
You hire an asphalt company at Woodward Township and they don't do the job, what do you do as a supervisor?
Is there any other business anyone wants to discuss
Only-
besides?
Only
we
one
have-
quick thing, I think I'd just like to throw this out there in motion, see what people think. I'm tired of living in the past in this committee. We spend more time worrying about what happened. I think tonight we got the answer out that Nick went to his supervisors. That should kill everything about Nick and how this all came about. So my suggestion would be is to, make a motion to eliminate all the proposals that came in from the groups for, providing the service. And I think that this group has taken it upon ourselves to, 1, we came together, 2, we're looking at our bylaws, we secured our own attorney, we get our bylaws done, we get the weighted vote done, and then we go out and have our attorney help us with putting a document together, not necessarily an RFP, but a document together for these companies to give us a proposal.
And we don't need an RFP because.
I understand that, that's why I said not necessarily an RFP, because it's a service, we don't have to bid it. But my question, my thing would be is, that I would make a motion to eliminate all of those proposals, and we don't talk about them no more. Because that's what we're beating a dead horse that happened months ago. So that's my motion, I make a motion to terminate any proposals or get rid of any proposals that were given to this group, up till now, based on, contraction.
I'll second that.
Say that again, Brandon.
Make a motion to terminate all or get rid of all, whatever the fancy word anyone wants to use, proposals that have been received for services till now. So we're gonna start out with a new slate. We're basically rebuilding this from the bottom now.
It's great.
Kyle, you second.
I did.
Fresh start. Good for you.
So I only have one other thing, and this question's for, Elizabeth, since she's
Hang
so
on,
involved.
hang on.
Alright.
All in favor? Thank you.
Elizabeth,
Anyone opposed for the termination of all the,
Current
any
proposal.
proposals that we currently have?
Elizabeth, you are a board member, correct?
You're a
Well, 1 of
Are
9.
you a Keystone Central School District board member?
Yes, sir.
When are you guys appointing your delegate for this TCC?
I have requested, this is public
You
information.
guys typically do your appointments in December, correct?
Well, the reorganization meeting is, what is it, the first or second? December, thank you, I couldn't remember the date. At the reorganization meeting, we, the board members reorganize of officers, yes. But I don't, for some reason, they didn't do the TCC delegate appointment and alternate until February of last year. I'm not the president and the superintendent / board secretary.
So the people are gonna be pulling their ear about when this is gonna happen and who they're putting on as a delegate. Should be the
Every-
superintendent or the board president should be bending their ear, correct?
Yes, because they won't listen,
I'm not asking who to listen to, I'm asking you, when am I gonna see on the agenda and who is appointed for that
Brandon.
TCC? Because I'm gonna be looking for it.
Typically, I've looked back to see how the appointments happen. Typically, it's whenever there's turnover in my position.
Okay,
So the resolution 144 that was approved in February of last year was done because Mark Hondo left the district.
okay,
And he was on as a secondary delegate.
okay.
So that's why that one was
So
done.
you're the
in February.
primary.
So I'm the primary. Joni McIntyre, business manager, is the delegate.
Okay,
secretary.
part of that resolution, does
So-
it say it gets redone every
It
year?
does not.
Well, see, that's the problem, and that's a good, in fact, I would support as a citizen, because I can't speak as a board member, 1 of 9, I would support as a citizen that if the delegates so choose, they could come to a school board meeting and just zoom in or whatever and say, you know, just for transparency and consistency, would you please consider appointing a day of the year? Maybe it's during the reorganization
The
meeting.
only reason I'm asking is, we're trying to move through this process.
Right.
We're doing our bylaws. Next thing, we're gonna do the weighted.
Mhm.
To vote on the weighted and who's getting what vote,
You gotta know who it is.
I gotta know who, I gotta know who I need to talk to and who I need to twist.
Right. No, this is what I'm
And
saying.
what I mean by twist is, I'm saying is, I'm an elected official. I'm here, I'm a Castanea supervisor to put my people's taxpayers' money to work as much as I can
I'm
for
gonna
them.
say go to
This-
Dr. Redmond, cause he
Well,
is the big.
no, just give you an example. Currently, right now, if we went with a lower contractor, my municipality would get approximately $4,600 more a year. $4,600 is 6 months of my fuel operations at Castanea Township. That is a big change on my municipality.
Yes, but
And everyone that's an elected official here in the municipality should be looking at it that way.
okay,
That's your fiduciary responsibility.
yes, may I please, Brandy, please, can I just
And I agree with
reflect
you.
back on, can we,
Do-
Real quick.
reflect back, yes.
So I'm just trying to find out who I gotta go to talk to,
Well-
and when these meetings are gonna happen, so I can speak.
I would go before a public meeting, because it would be to your benefit to get an answer quicker, probably.
Well, I don't think you get any quicker than me sending an email to those two
Well, but see, the
individuals saying,
board
what
has
is the
to, but the
consideration
board has
of
to.
you two of putting it on the board agenda, or are you just not gonna bother with it?
Well, then carbon copy, put all the board members on it, please, okay? And regarding what you're saying, I fully understand, we all want the best tax collection, the best tax service, and the best price, but at some point, not now, don't worry about it now, but at some point, when you either renegotiate your contract as an option or not, but bottom line, because you're getting other taxes collected for free right now, that 5% is all of the taxes being collected, okay? That's what you haven't been explained yet, and in my.
No, that 5% is out of what they collect for us.
Well, but.
That's the point. You're saying that's 5%, everyone's getting jammed up, but I'm telling you that $4,600 means a lot to Castanea Township.
Yes, but the question is, and this is my opinion,
What would that be for Dunstan?
please, folks, this is my opinion, okay? In my opinion, when you decide at what point you're gonna want to renegotiate the contract with Keystone, before you do set out, it would be beneficial to have every tax given a percentage. Otherwise, when you go out there and shop, when you look at the Keystone Collections contract, it lists all those other taxes, but it doesn't tell you what the price
But
is.
we're only one tax,
we
so I'm not
only-
worried about this.
No, but if you're, no, pardon me, but if you're really worried about The overall picture, all of those other taxes, so you are getting money put back into your municipality. So, what I'm saying is, knowing what all the percentages are for each one.
About the real estate tax they collect here. Your tax office doesn't even collect.
It's not my tax office.
Yes, it is, because you're a board member.
Okay.
And also you're a taxpayer. But they don't even collect it. You send your real estate tax to a lockbox, that company cashes the check, puts it into paperwork, and eventually sends it to the school.
I gotta
That's
tell
what
you,
happens.
I gotta tell
Yes,
you.
no, that's what happens.
I know, I gotta tell you what happened last Friday. I gotta tell you this, okay? I'm gonna change the individual's name to Bob, all right,
Can-
Bob. No,
Sorry.
please, this is very, if
Do you guys
he's,
wanna hear that? Do you want?
I
ended public
yeah, I
comment,
guess this
sorry.
is my
I
time. So my point is,
I'm sorry,
I'm ready.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Chrissy, you're
looking at
right,
it
you're
from a
right.
But I want everybody
standpoint
to
that
be
you
comfortable.
guys are a contractor. Keystone Central is a contractor. All right?
And I knew
And
that, but the
we
other
have to
board,
look at our contractor.
Right.
Right now, Keystone Central is on the hook for if they get taken over by ransomware.
Mhm.
That's not our problem, because they're the ones taking care of it. If they don't have the employees to cover it, that's not our problem as a
That's-
TCC.
that's, yes, and I'm sorry interrupting, but this is the.
You
this
are
is-
interrupting, I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead,
So
go
the
ahead.
point is,
Go ahead.
is what I'm trying to say is, I don't wanna go back and hear about what Nick got, what Nick did, what things like that. It's a mess. That's why we had to start this all over from the beginning, is my opinion. So my point is we got a new solicitor, we're now taking care of the bylaws. After we get the bylaws done, we gotta take care of the weighted vote. After we get the weighted vote done, then we gotta decide what we're gonna do and who's gonna collect. I think that's the path
Yeah, yeah,
that we're looking at.
mm-hmm,
So we gotta move on. But
Right.
anyways, my point is that I just wanna know, my question for you, and that's it, you're not talking to me. My question for you and Chris Scaff was, who do I have to email to find out
Mhm.
if they're going to change the delegates, and if so, when?
I would ask Dr. Redmond.
I will email both of them.
Thank you, Chris, and I will say this,
Copy
this,
copy.
up
Do we
until,
have anything else to become before the board?
may I just finish?
I don't.
So to clarify what he,
I just have a question, the December 11th is the reorganization.
For the purpose of
Yes.
reorganization.
Are we going to then set up the work session?
Yes.
Okay.
Date,
Yes,
date,
we'll
not
set it.
Date and
work,
time.
Yeah.
date,
We'll
Yeah,
discuss
date
the
for the
date.
work
work session
Yes.
date,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay.
um,
All right, can I get a motion to, does anybody else from the committee have anything to mention? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor?
All in favor?
You check the law. You have to.
Anyone
Real estate
opposed?
taxes get sent to Harmony